are single and lonely. That's right. That's right. Marriage is some boring ass shit. Because once you get married, you gotta hang around other married people. And that's just disgusting. You ever go to dinner with 6 neutered adults?
Yes, sir.
All right, so boom. Let's start the new segment. We're gonna start with some economics and politics. As you guys would know, this past Tuesday was the first presidential debate. According to Forbes, the presidential debate for 2020 dropped 13% from 2016. While there were more than 73 million people who watched Tuesday's night presidential debate, it's still a significant drop from the 2016 debate. My opinions, my thoughts, it was a clusterfuck. I watched the whole thing. I did not enjoy it. Unfortunately, there was not enough substance in policy, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I thought it was a clusterfuck too. I didn't enjoy it. I sat down with the intention not to watch the whole thing, but then I watched the whole thing. I kept talking to Biden as I was watching it, like, Biden, just keep talking to the people and stick to your talking points. Don't get into the banter, this back and forth tomfoolery with this asshole, because that's all that was. You know what I mean? Him just trying to dictate. And I think that they needed a better moderator. I didn't like Chris Williams. I think they should use Chris Hayes.
From MSNBC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was too weak, man. He was too weak.
Yeah, Wallace was weak, yeah.
Yeah.
Kel?
I don't know. I mean, I just knew the day was gonna suck going into it. My expectations was kind of low. I feel like Trump sucked, and he's using this coronavirus as a ploy to get sympathy from the American public.
I don't even think he's going to get sympathy from the American public based on how people feel, how he handled the whole situation.
Honestly, I didn't watch it. I wasn't planning on watching it because I knew it was going to be BS.
You were part of the 13%.
The whole thing is, I find that politics is not about an intellectual understanding of the issues. It's more about emotional manipulation. To get to strike a chord versus strike your mind. So I don't like to participate because I realize what it is, and this actually showed exactly what it was. I was kind of disappointed in Biden because I expected Trump to, be the way he was. I wasn't expecting Biden to get drugged down into the mud with the pig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I understand. Somebody start talking about your kids, your family. It's personal,
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when your wife's there. Yeah, that becomes real personal.
Yeah.
But on one note, I do say that the next moderator needs to be Samuel Jackson, so he could be up in there. I said 2 minutes, motherfucker.
Well, you know what it is. I feel like
of the moderator.
with 20 seconds left, I feel like 2 minutes is not enough to answer certain talking points. There was a rumor out there a couple of weeks ago that these debates should be 4 hours long. At least, so that way you could get a flushed out conversation around these topics. But it is what it is. All right. Next up, this is from CNBC. Trump signs a bill this past week to prevent government shutdown after funding briefly lapses. So, as you probably would know, Nancy Pelosi met with Secretary of Treasury Steve Mnuchin to discuss a second round of stimulus. It passed the House. It's unlikely to pass the Senate, unfortunately. But while all of this is happening, the government was looking to be shut down, and Trump passed the bill to prevent the shutdown. So there's one good thing he did this past week. Thoughts?
I mean, it makes sense, especially the way that the economy been hit the first time. So, I mean, at some point, I don't really know what the answer is aside from hopefully this vaccine can be created a little bit faster so that we can get through this nonsense. But you can't just keep shutting shit. You can't just keep shutting down, shutting stuff down.
It's an election year, so it all looks good on paper. Unfortunately, people are still dying. I don't think it's a ploy that he got COVID. If you actually looked at his body language on Wednesday, his body language was definitely different. it wasn't told until Thursday that he actually had COVID. But if you watch back on Wednesday and look at his footage, and this is not from a newscaster, this is just from my own analysis. His fist bump and his rhetoric wasn't as strong as it normally was because he is sick. I think what he did show with all that was just that the seriousness of motherfuckers need to wear masks, bro. Shit is serious. I don't want none of y'all getting sick. I don't want nobody that I know getting sick. The few that I do know on the outliers that have passed away, it is what it is at this point. May they rest in peace. But yeah, that was just a political ploy. And signing something to stop a shutdown doesn't really get anything done because they're still fighting. The senators, they're still fighting. You know, they even tried to pass the next stimulus and they're still fighting, you know. So they're just going to keep fighting because at the end of the day, this shit is politics, like Shuba said. Politics are dirty, you know. Politics only care about politics, not people.
I mean, it's a complex situation. Economically, we can't stop things from running because we will fall into the hole financially, but all these stimulus will also possibly cause hyperinflation, which is a whole nother different animal. I don't know, like, you know, the stimulus thing is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. You know, if you understand economics, you know it's a damned if you do and damned if you don't situation. So there is no easy answer. You know, there really is no easy answer to that.
Yeah, the easy answer though, Schubert, is like Henry said, they need to get a vaccine, but vaccines aren't created in silos. They're not created that fast. You know, I did some science for 7 years. A vaccine cannot be created with a fucking magic wand. It just can't happen. And yeah, to get the economy up and running, the thing is that the American people don't have faith. So yeah, airlines are falling because motherfucker, I don't want to get on an airline. Who the hell wants to get on the airline? To go where? To go someplace where I could possibly get infected? That shit it's a mind thing right now. People don't want to move if they feel like the smart, intelligent people don't want to move around with people that they think are being careless with their lives.
Yeah, but the economic thing about that is that even if they came out with a vaccine tomorrow, businesses have learned to adapt without traveling and going to one another, such as we are on this Zoom now. They, you know, and it's more cost efficient. They may never go back to that again, and that will be a huge economic effect because of the fact that businesses will not operate the way they used to.
All right, fellas, we gotta wrap the back and forth. We gotta wrap the back and forth up, fellas. We gotta move on.
Okay, go ahead.
Right. Next
I said my point.
Yeah, next up, actually Smith mentioned of this 2 weeks ago, and it's official. This past Thursday, New Jersey, which continues to be a shitty state, has raised its gas tax. New Jersey tax hike is nearly 10% per gallon. Went into effect this past Thursday. New Jersey, quite a few years ago, we went from being one of the 4 lowest states with gas tax to now we're in the top 4 states with the highest gas tax rates. The consumption of gasoline and diesel fuel continues to be low as people work from home and limit their extracurricular activity due to the pandemic.
All right, you go first.
It's unfortunate just because I've been following the gas tax policies for the past 4 years under Chris Christie and the whole budgeting around the Transportation Trust Fund. And New Jersey, for whatever reason, is one of those corrupt states that can't necessarily budget anything correctly, and it's not due to people, not intelligent enough. I just think that New Jersey is just too corrupt of a state where people just doesn't necessarily do what is right by its citizens. And the fact that the Transportation Trust Fund got, in the red in the first place back in 2016 when we had our first gas tax hike in a while is unfortunate. So now you got, high property taxes and now high gas tax.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I tried to forewarn folks last week that was listening to our book club reviews, but I told you all last week that the gas tax was going up and go fill up your car. So I was ably fortunate enough to fill up my car because I knew the gas taxes was going to go up. That 10% was going to be effective. Fortunately, that I live in North, that some independent operators have not raised their price yet, due to a lack of whatever it is. So I'm going to put some more gas in my car as soon as I can. It is unfortunate. We are a very corrupt state. It is going to go up, and guess what? It's going to go up again. Okay, so this isn't the last time that it's going up. I think it's supposed to go up either, what is it, a year or 2 years?
Yeah, like another.
Another 10 cents. So soon we'll be the same rate in California and New York.
Yeah.
I'll jump in. I mean, I just think it's like, it sucks that it went up, but it makes up for other areas, like the fact that we don't charge taxes on clothes. So now our gas has to be higher. I'll just continue to carpool. Yeah, that's all I got.
But we do charge a sales tax, though. That's the crazy thing about it.
Not on clothes, though.
Understood, but like, I don't know. Like a lot of people, how often are you shopping though? Really for clothes?
Exactly.
You know, you're driving a lot.
A lot. Well, I mean, you know, people shop a lot. How much do I shop personally? Not a lot.
Yeah.
But
property taxes in New Jersey are ridiculous. So, I mean, there needs to be some kind of, the gas prices are always low. I thought because the property taxes were so freaking high. And that was the only draw to come to New Jersey.
Nah, man. I remember, back in 2016 under Chris Christie, when it became a thing, like, yo, the Transportation Trust Fund is running low. Everyone is just like, how? You know, because the whole purpose of that fund is to basically keep the highways up, repairs up to date. And, we all drive through New Jersey highways and local streets. Yo, there's potholes everywhere. So you're just like, all right, how did this fund get depleted so quickly when our roads, our infrastructure is in the toilet? I simply don't get it, man. And it just goes to show you, the folks in Trenton, I think they're lining their pockets up. I think these, the unions involved tend to mishandle the funds. I think it's just a overall mess. I guess Black Zeus has nothing to say about the gas tax. He was like,
I kind of have my conspiracy theories about it, but, I only throw out anything that I'm not, fairly informed about. So.
Good job.
Okay. All right. Well, the next two economics news topics are surrounding the state of our economy. First up, this is from Bloomberg. New York region sees 40% bankruptcy surge. According to Yelp, almost 6,000 city businesses have been closed since March. What was also detailed in this article was saying that essentially they need people to start coming back into to the actual work locations. Most of these city businesses are restaurants. So with people not necessarily traveling and not necessarily going to a work site location, these restaurants are finding themselves being bankrupt. So, and then to tie this into the next news, that's relatively the same. This is from CNBC. There were some big layoffs this week. The first one was 28,000 employees at Disney are laid off. So on Tuesday, Disney announced that they're laying off 28,000 employees across its parks. Royal Dutch Shell, the oil energy company, they're cutting between 7,000 and 9,000 jobs. And United Airlines and American Airlines, if they don't receive another round of stimulus, which is absurd, I say, if they don't receive another round of stimulus, they're planning on laying off 30,000 employees. So you got bankruptcy and you got layoffs this week.
Sound like we headed for a depression.
I think we in it, bro. We already in that joint.
Oh, the mild state depression.
Yeah, we're in it. I think 2021 is going to look real bad.
I think 2021 we'll be in it.
Yeah.
I think people don't realize what we're in right now. It's too many. It's too much other things to focus on, and not really focusing on the economy.
Yeah.
You're right. Those businesses are suffering, man. But at the end of the day, again, it becomes It becomes the American people. Even when the businesses are suffering, I could still support the business, but do I feel confident in this business? You know what I mean? Do I feel confident in risking my life? Like at the end of the day, you're still putting your life in jeopardy. Like that's how some people feel. There are others that don't feel that way. You know, Florida, everything is open in Florida. So I don't know how bad these businesses are doing out there because everything is open all night long, all day, you know? But whereas we're in New Jersey, mom and pop stores are feeling the effects, you know? The little bodegas, they are not the little bodegas because people still support them with the EBT. So they're eating, they're doing good. But the little, you know, the blueberry cafes, the little organic restaurants that opened up that were flourishing, the little trinket spots, the African trinket spots. So a lot of these businesses were flourishing just because people were buying things because they felt as though they needed things in their lives. I think a lot of people going through this COVID has realized that some of the shit that they've been buying, they don't really need. And I think that's going to have a greater effect on the businesses because some of these businesses that opened up were bullshit businesses. I don't need this shit. This is just bullshit. This will not help me survive life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need things that will help me survive life. Food, water, shelter.
And the new Jordans.
Education, folks. Athleticism, endurance. So if you're not having a gym, if you're not educated, if you're not in the food, shelter, that kind of business, I ain't talking about no restaurant. I'm talking about like a shop, right? You know, where I gotta go get the food. Then you're gonna kind of be fucked. So you better start
carpentry
saving that money.
The trades, yeah.
Save your money. They're not getting ready to. They're doing two more. They're doing this stimulus and then they're gonna do another one. But the American public is not going to see much money. All right. If you got $1,200 or $1,700 last time, you saw that was nothing for you, and this is how it's going to be. You know, I'm just glad that all of you on here are money savvy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm saying. I think the mild depression that most people are feeling, I'm not feeling what most people are feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just not feeling that because I try to be a little more money savvy.
It's time to go get your gun license, fellas.
Facts.
Oh yes, I don't know why that one's not on there. So I was just looking at that. Would you all like to go get it together?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I was just looking at that the other day. My uncle told me I had to go get it. So I said,
it's going to look really dire and bleak out here, man. And quick story. Well, for time's sake, I'm not going to tell the story. Go ahead, Cal.
Oh no, that was it.
I want to hear that story.
Hold on, I do.
What you have on these two story headlines?
I mean, as a business owner, like, you know, that sounds scary as hell, you know, to be losing business, and I get it, you know, but the whole thing is this is one of those things where it's survival of the fittest. So if you're not going to innovate, if you're not going to revamp your business model, you're going to fail. You're going to die. Like if you're a restaurant and you're not like Uber eating or something, or Hub Grub or something, or coming up with, you know, ways to get food to the people, then your restaurant's going to fail. If you are, you know, the airline and you ain't figuring, you know, maybe we need to fly smaller planes, you know, I don't know, you're going to fail. Like, it's just what it is. I mean, the reality
I think there's
is
no saving for the airlines.
He said, fly a smaller plane. It ain't even about flying a smaller plane. Flights
here's
are
the reality.
$20.
Americans have been living a life of luxury for the longest, and they still complain that they don't have this and they don't have that. Or like, my life is so hard, but I got an iPhone in my pocket and Jordans on my feet. Now it's like the reality is kicking in. I didn't really need the latest iPhone. I didn't really need these Jordans. You know, maybe it might, you know, make some people learn. I don't know.
You know, I'm all for that too, and I do realize a lot of people are coming to the realization. I have a friend who just said, "Wow, you know, this pandemic is make me realize like I didn't do a great job saving." And now he's he's about his business about saving, which is great. But the problem is America is built on consumerism. So we have a lot of people willing to just save, to like what you were saying, Smith. A lot of these businesses was bullshit businesses, but they were employing somebody.
Yes.
And the thing is, you know, now you already have millions. I'm talking about Great Depression record number of unemployed people currently, and we haven't really hit the peak of unemployment, I believe, which is going to happen in 2021. It's like, you know, it's unfortunate to see that. I think that airlines are done for. They shouldn't receive a stimulus just because the whole model is messed up. They're overpriced anyway. And secondly, I just don't think that traveling is going to be something people are going to feel comfortable with. Like you were saying, Smith, you know, people are not comfortable yet. And I don't even care if once a vaccine come around, people still are not going to be comfortable yet. And I was listening to a podcast where a virologist, he was saying that people need to stop traveling for leisure like that in the first place. He was like, this is why pandemics happen in the first place, is because people go to these exotic countries all the time, and then you bring back something foreign, and then that next thing you know, those people get exposed to a virus that, you know, that their immune system is not accustomed to. So, you know, when he said that, I mean, he made me think of the airline industry and just saying, like, you know what, I think the airline industry is just doomed to fail, and just let them fail, period.
Hey, Bradley, I just want to add this with that because, yeah, they've been bailed out and they've had high, you know, like you said, they do price gouging a lot.
Yeah.
With them having all of this money that they've had, how the fuck do you end up in these situations in 6 months? I don't understand. Like, where you're dealing with fucking billions of dollars. How do you end up broke?
I don't, yeah, to be honest, Smith, man, that's
salaries?
a good ass
Is it all
question.
salaries? It's just
no, man.
Salary, right?
It's bad mismanagement, and I think that's what kind of doomsday wrap up shit is that?
Yo, you gotta find a better wrap up, bro.
What kind of Mad Max shit is that? Like, all right. Next story. All right, we're entering the health, science, and technology part of the news. My man got the doomsday panic button. All right, this is from The Verge. Amazon is rolling out a palm reading device. Amazon palm reading starts at the grocery store, but it could be much bigger. Amazon unveiled on Tuesday a new technology for its Amazon Go stores that lets shoppers pay for their groceries by scanning the palm of their hand, by analyzing the shape of their hand and the unique configuration of the veins under your skin. Amazon said its technology can verify your identity the same way facial recognition does.
That's too much, huh?
Don't like.
Yo, I don't understand the difference. Like, yo, so you can scan the groceries from the palm of my hand instead of just me taking my car. So now scanning me holding my phone and scanning it is too much work. I just need you to scan my hand.
Yes. We have all of these other things that we could be working on. This is what I'm talking about, the American society, man. We have all these things. You want to work on a palm reader because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
Because like you said, like Henry said, because I don't want to take my phone that's already in my hand and put it up to the scanner. Because I don't want to take the card that's in my pocket and pop it on the thing. Like, what? So now I'm going to use my hand. First of all, that's how coronavirus got out. I don't want to touch shit like that. So no.
It's a scan. You're not touching anything. You just put your hand on top. I watched the video. Yeah, and it just scans your hand, bro.
Oh, it's Star Trek shit.
Yeah.
Star Trek shit. Don't like. Figure out how to get me some clean, free water, goddammit.
That's that shit I don't like.
It's like, I don't give a damn how advanced the technology is.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Like, yo, they're still lead in my water. Fix that first.
Yeah, fix that shit. Make a better gas so you don't have to keep raising the gas price. Make some fuel that we can goddamn really use that's cheap. Y'all can make that shit.
Yeah, man. What you got, Black Zeus?
Here's the thing. Amazon is great at this, you know, but simply what they do is do everything possible to make the buying process easier, quicker, faster, and with less thought. You can see that, you know, add to cart button much easier than you can see the price when you go on Amazon. You can click on it, you know, or the wish list, this, that, and the other, and it just makes the process that much easier. They keep streamlining it to the point where people just do a lot. It's been shown in studies that people do a lot of impulse buying on Amazon, especially when they're drunk for some reason.
Hey, Sugar, you hit that right on the head. It takes the thought away.
Exactly. That's all it is. It's not the pulling out the card and actually realizing how much money you're spending and this, that, and the other gives you a second to be like, oh, wait a minute,
Yes. Hey, Schubert, you hit that so on, man. That's why I like the go around. That's why I like the merry-go-round, because that's dead on right there, taking that thought away. But think about this. So the Amazon, if we were on our phone and we were looking at something, now when we go back on our phone, it's saying it's suggesting something. Will it do that with my hand? Will I be buying something that I didn't even want, but my hand suggested it?
I don't know. I think, to be honest, I think Amazon is just gathering every bit of information about you. So
look at that you just said. Don't like. God damn.
You know what?
Button.
And I know we're almost pressed for time on this one.
About me.
I think Amazon is trying. There's a great online YouTube documentary about China's future technology utopia. China's already doing half of this shit. They're really doing and I'll send it to you after this. But yeah, China's already doing half of this, and I think this is Amazon's way of trying to introduce this to the American people. The last bit of news: there's been human participant for the coronavirus vaccine trial.
Donald Trump?
No, unfortunately, it's not Donald Trump. This is from CNBC. Coronavirus vaccine trial participants report day-long exhaustion, fever, and headaches, but say it's worth it. Some of the things, there was high fever, body aches, headaches, exhaustions are some of the symptoms participant in Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer coronavirus vaccine trials said they felt after receiving the shots. While the symptoms were uncomfortable and at times intense, they often went away after a day, sometimes less. The phase 3 trials are a critical last step needed to get the vaccine cleared for distribution.
All right, quick question. What was that? That pool, that study pool? Were we in it? Because
black folks?
From my understanding, they're having a hard time getting black folks to do this. So I'm trying to figure out who was this vaccine given to, who was it administered to, and what effects did it have? You told us the effects it had on them, but maybe that's their DNA and their culture. How does it affect the black man?
The article did not go into that, but that's a good point. And I was listening to a podcast with a doctor, and the problem is black people, by and large, particularly black men, we are skeptical of the sciences because of the history we have with the sciences. So they want black participants to be involved in the coronavirus trials. The problem is we're not volunteering.
Oh yeah, I know what the problem is.
Yeah, we're not volunteering.
I know what the problem is.
So, and one hand is just because I was I saw a headline before that was saying the same thing. They're like, there's not enough black people involved and black people are being left out. And I was like, well, you got to be truthful about why black people aren't involved. It's just that black people are not willingly stepping up to be involved. Yeah, they're choosing not to be involved.
Yeah.
So it's not like black people are being purposely excluded from the trials, vaccination trials. It's just that we're choosing not to.
Yeah, the last time I saw a study, black men were the highest ones with prostate cancer because they're homophobic about getting a finger up their ass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we got to pick and choose our battles. We can't cry that the medical industry is not giving us a fair shot, but when we're not necessarily being willing participant. But at the same time, I could get why we're skeptical of the medical industry because of the history given.
I'm fine with all the prostates and the cancer diagnoses, but I ain't getting no goddamn vaccine trial. I'm not being your guinea pig.
You sure about that? I could sign you up. They'll probably give you $100, bro.
Oh, $100. Oh man.
We got 4 questions for the week. We're going to start with the question number 3. Chapter 6 speaks on how American culture makes sex a taboo subject. Is this the reason we as Americans have such an unhealthy sexual relationship? And can the public school system, introduce sex ed, resolve our issues?
I like how you combine both of them questions.
I mean, I'm going to say this much about the subject. I think when you make something taboo or you make something not, you don't speak about it, you don't address it, you just spark the interest more and you leave people in the dark. And when you leave people in the dark in any subject, they come up with their own shit. And that's how you get conspiracy theories. That's how you get miseducation. That's how you get kids that get pregnant, this, that, and the other, and all those type of things. So I think the taboo is definitely the problem and the reason why we have these unhealthy relationships with sex. And then as far as sexual education, I think it is important for these us to learn at a younger age and have an open conversation, so that we don't go into this blindly or foolishly.
Yeah, I agree, Shu. I even think, I don't know what country they said it was, but they said there's one country, she was saying how like they don't frown upon the whole idea of sex when the kids are younger.
Yeah, it was like one of the European countries.
And as a result, their pregnancy rate is lower than the U.S. I think if everybody in the U.S. did have that education on it, then they can make a more informed decision as opposed to being like, oh, this is something people telling me I shouldn't be doing. I definitely want to try it because I don't know what it's like. So when you got the information and you know what you're getting yourself into, you can make a more informed decision regardless of how old you are.
You know what? Like, with that question about the sex ed, how many of you guys actually taken a sex ed class growing up?
A sex ed class?
Yeah, like, or received sex ed growing up.
No, I only saw them on TV shows I watched.
I took a sex ed.
Yeah, so like I had sex ed. Funny enough, I went to a Catholic school, and I had a sex ed course my sophomore year, and when she brought up the contradiction in the American culture, meaning like you could see sex in all types of sexual adventures on television, but yet in our own personal lives, it's relatively reserved. We have a very Puritan way of viewing sex, and she made mention how sex ed is presented in Europe, which helps in many ways, whereas we don't have this sort of formalized sex ed course presented in America. It could quite possibly help with a lot of our issues, and I felt conflicted with that because I just was reminiscing on the sex ed course that I take it, and sex ed has always been a preventative measure. Like, all right, how to prevent yourself from catching the STD and how to prevent a woman or getting a woman pregnated. And when I think about the prior chapters in here, and she talks about these, the stories of the couples who come into her office and talk about the sexual hiccups, some of these people have desire issues, like actual desire. And I don't know if sex ed could be a good stepping stone. I don't know if sex ed will resolve or be a good stepping stone for any of that stuff. Like if you are having, issues with your mate where your desire, your passion is being lost, I don't know what sex ed actually would do in that instance. So it sounds great, but sex ed, the way I think of sex ed is because she talks about how in Europe they have 18 times less than the pregnancy rate than American teenagers do. That's great, but like when you're an adult, and as she talked about with one couple where one dude likes to get beaten up and stuff like that, like sex ed doesn't address that. Like if you have a desire to be spanked and stuff, like what does sex ed do for that individual growing up?
Sex ed doesn't address your fetishes.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. But shouldn't it be part of the sex ed to make it understood that a person who has, S&M things or foot fetish, whatever, there's nothing wrong with them. That's their thing or whatever. And this is the reason why they might have that. And maybe that's you or maybe that's someone else. I mean, the whole point is that because America makes it so taboo and not spoken of, that anything we hear outside of what we consider norms, we consider, sinful or wrong or this, that, and the other. So now you have people, like I said, experimenting on their own without any type of education or knowledge or understanding of what they're going through, and knowing that it's completely normal or knowing that it's okay.
Yeah, well, it's only taboo to talk about sex in America. As you said, it's shown everywhere. The difference with our country is we have a Teen Mom show. So we have little girls that look up to this teen mom show and say, well, I want to have a baby. I want to be a teen mom. So sex is sold in America, not taught.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It should be taught, because remember how they mentioned the couple who when they first started their relationship, they were into that, domination thing, whatever.
Domination.
And then later on, when they were discussing it amongst the therapists, you're like, oh, well, she's being diminished as a woman and this, that, and the other. And instead of understanding, no, she actually likes it. She likes, this, that, and the other, and it's okay. They were more concerned about saying it's a feminist issue.
I think some of it.
She was also saying that she was saying that they was doing the S&M, they was doing bondage, they was getting down with all that. All right, she had a baby.
Yeah, they had their second or third child. Yeah.
Yeah, then she felt like she was in bondage with this baby, so she didn't want to be tied up anymore, because she thought that her motherhood brought her out of that and she didn't feel comfortable being in bondage, which is some other shit. That's just some other stuff that I can't have a baby sucking on my titty. So I don't know what that, I'm being tied up by my husband, then I'm feeling captive by my baby. That's just some other, like, we probably can't even touch that really, because we don't know what that effect is. We don't know what that feels like. But the guy is saying basically, I can't get aroused because this is how we used to have sex, and you don't want to have sex like this anymore. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I desire this and you can't give me this. So how do I really become intimate with you now at this point when you feel like I'm degrading you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
a lot of back on that when Kel speaks.
Oh, a lot of it too is just think about what you're saying as far as like teaching it in the schools. It becomes like a touchy subject. Like, you can't show porn in schools and be like, hey, so see here, this is so-and-so. So you still got to like walk the thin line and give them like an idea of what, S&M is like. But like, you can't show them exactly what it is. So even if you try to teach it,
at what grade level would you think is an appropriate age to introduce? Like, all right, we can talk about.
Before you ask that question, can I just say just one thing though?
Go ahead.
In fact, I think that y'all are thinking of sex ed as only the physical aspect of it, which is what we are taught in America. We're only taught this is where babies come from. This is genitals. There's more to it than the physical, and that's the thing. This whole book is about the psychology, and that's the thing. That's the part that's not being taught here. Remember, this is being written by a psychologist, and we're not talking about physical sexual ed. We're talking about psychology, sex psychology. That's the part that's missing in that sex ed. That's the component that's missing in sexual education in America.
Well, I wish you would have gave an example of.
Yeah, the psychology part, but that becomes if I show you this, am I now influencing you?
Exactly.
This? You know what I mean? I think it's a double-edged sword in this sense, Like you said earlier, probably sex education. I didn't have sex education. We had health class. In health, they would talk about, venereal diseases, things. You would look at little pictures that had, fucked up pussies and shit like that, and penises, and it was then you'd be like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to catch that.
Shit.
I don't want, you look at a blue waffle and you're like, yeah, blue waffle. I don't want to catch that. But never anything besides, oh, if I have sex, I can have a baby or I can get a disease. Never doing the psychological that she was talking about at all. But again, if I introduce, if I go on Pornhub and porn has expanded from my days of porn, of VCR tapes, and now you can have it at your fingertips on your phone. And now my list has gone from, if I can think it, they got it. If I can conceive it, it's there. If I could think of horses, feet, aliens, whatever I could think of, I can find it in porn. So it has shifted, and now the thing that you said, Schubert, the psychological part is out of it. I just want to do cosplay, bruh. You know what I mean? It becomes that. So am I messing up people by showing them this, or do I really get into the psychology? And I think the psychology have to start I think you got to do part of that at home, man. I don't know, shit's weird, but I think you got to do part of that at home. As my son's listening to this conversation, you can't hear us though. I'm just looking through the window, like, what is he talking about?
Yeah, I just don't know at what age you start introducing the sex psychology. Like you start introducing polyamory and BDSM and all of that stuff. It's just, to me, those are just adult things. And unfortunately, you're just gonna have to go through those trials and tribulations of finding out what's your kink. I don't think.
What about college level?
There's some colleges that offer it. There are some colleges that do offer it. Now that's going to be at whether or not your university really make a focus on presenting that course. But there's I remember when I went to California a couple of years back, and my wife and I, we actually took a bondage course. We went to a bondage exhibition, and it was pretty cool. I actually have the DVD of the whole situation. And, I just think that sex ed, when she presented that information, I would have loved to have seen the contrast of okay, what is it that the European markets of sexual education looks like for you to say that they're doing much better in regards of not making sex a taboo? Because I just simply think that there's certain things you just can't, like Smith was saying, are you influencing these kids at an early age in regards to like kinks and fetishes that I don't think is appropriate?
No, I don't think that they're actually doing that per se, but I think it's just the fact of in Europe, the overall culture, is not as tight ass about sex. It's like, oh, sex is like drinking. It's like, okay, you have sex, cool, whatever. No big deal. You know what I mean? Like they even have like legalized prostitution, this, that, and the other, where you actually have to get a license to be a prostitute and this, that, and the other, the whole thing is, I think in America, because we make such a big deal out of it, is the reason why we have most of the problems that we have with it. That's one of the reasons we have the most problems with it. And the thing is, it's like, you got to ask yourself, is your view right now really your personal view, or the view that you've been cultivated with because of the Puritan American way that has been, basically programmed into you?
Yeah, but that's what they were saying. It's basically the porn site versus sex ed versus health ed.
So, for instance,
virginity has become a relic to most folks, and you're doing a porn site education versus sex education versus a health education, versus the other one that she didn't talk about, the psychological part. The psychological education regarding the sex that Schubert is talking about.
Right.
But like Europe is not like I just Google right now, right? Europe divorce statistic rates. Europe still has a fairly high statistical rate. Matter of fact, Portugal and Spain have well over 60% divorces.
Yeah, I think, but what they tied it to was just more like the teen pregnancy rate was younger because
what she mentioned. She never mentioned divorce.
But I see what and I get that. What I'm saying is, as an adult, like we're talking about intimacy. I just don't think, how does sex ed address intimacy? And you're talking about psychology and all that stuff and how it can help you. But yeah, I'm looking at some of the divorce, Europe's, divorce rates. Some of these countries are well surpassed us in regards of divorce rate.
But then it's not called sex ed. I mean, you're talking relationship ed. If you're not just talking from a sexual aspect, I mean, of course, when you're just talking sex ed, it's just giving them the knowledge so that they can be sexually competent and not feel, so bad about doing X, Y, and Z. But that's not going to affect what type of relationship they're in.
But I'm just saying that what you think about some of the reasons why people get divorces, one of the top reasons is sexual intimacy. And if I'm looking at these statistical rates regarding divorces, and I'm assuming that
exactly, Bradley. That's what I was about to say.
Go ahead.
Check it out, though. You're looking at the rates, and the divorce rates are higher because people have had the sex education, and they realize that this is not going to go any farther. I'm no longer desiring this person, so I'm going to divorce this person.
Exactly. So
that's not necessarily true. You don't actually have any information backing that up. You're making an assumption. You're correlating the two and making an assumption. But the reality is the fact of what she is trying to point out is that if you have a more healthy understanding of sex and more comfortable relationship and understanding of sex, it can have a better effect on your sexual experiences overall, where you might make better choices, you know. So for instance, the big thing that she pointed out in America, no, not me, not now. Europe, no, no safe sex, no sex. Which one do you think is going to have a better effect? Telling someone, oh, you have to ignore what naturally comes to you as your instinctive urge to fulfill your sexual desires until you get married, or saying, hey, if I am going to indulge, I'm going to do it smart and responsibly.
Yeah, because you can still feel the same way as far as like, hey, well, the sex has hit a wall once you get into a relationship. It's just about what type of decisions are you making, you know, what type of sexual decisions are you making along the way.
Hey, listen, in America, we say I want a lady in the street and a freak in the bed.
Yeah, but we also say, like, and I'm pretty sure that you've said this to, you know, this young man who you want to join, like, yo, once you get married, sex is going to be like this, sex is going to be like that. So, like, you're giving him the information. It's not like he doesn't know as far as it affecting the marriage. But
no,
like,
but I'm giving him information regarding, now, everybody's situation is not the same. You do have that one, that needle in the haystack. So everybody's marital situation is not necessarily the same. Most people have the same, they end up having similar results, but not exactly the same. So his experience might be different than what my experience is. You know, his wife to be might be more willing to be the slut, you know, as the book talks about. I'm not making this up, people. The book talks about ladies being sluts. So she might tend to want to be this slut, all right? But something changes at some point, and she doesn't know, she no longer wants to be that freak in the bed, because some of the practices that she was doing while you were recording, she felt as though they are degrading her now that she's your wife, all right? So, yeah, I don't want to suck your dick no more, nigga. And it's like, yeah, but I kind of need that because that helps me. You know, I desire that. That's something I need in my sexual appetite. And in order for us to work, I need you to give me fellatio, or I'm going to go out, and this is how this is going to start leading to a divorce. I need you to still let me put it in your ass. I need back shot. I need that still. All right, because that allows me to feel different in my own spirit and what I need for my sexual appetite. And if you're not giving me that, then I'm going to go elsewhere. Okay, so
I think
I need to put it in between your feet. You know, it's things like that.
Yeah,
like,
I think you know what though?
Check it out. But what happens is these things we were doing prior to, but now that we're married, these things stop. This affects me. It affects me.
So just listening to you, Smith, and even Prad's question as far as like asking when should it start. All right, cool. So we say we need knowledge, you know, on a whole bunch of different things. All right, we'll go to school and we'll study X, Y, and Z. Maybe you get that basic, hey, this is what sex is when you're in high school. You know, these are the choices you can make, as opposed to not doing it at all. No, this is how you do it safely. Then maybe once you get to college, maybe that needs to be a course. How sex affects relationships. Because now we're mature enough and we're clear. I mean, they say the average person meets your college, your wife or husband when you're in college anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the time when you do need to, maybe that needs to be one of them prerequisite courses, like your first year, second year, where it's like, yo, you need to understand how sex and relationships are tied to each other. Because at that point, you should be intellectually, enough of an intellectual to be able to comprehend and understand that conversation.
I agree with that.
I agree with that. I'm just looking at these divorce stats right now in Europe, and I'm just like, all right, you're making Europe sounds like they have everything on lock when it comes to their sexual intimacy. And like I stated before, granted, yes, it's not a direct correlation, it's a correlation nonetheless, where sexual intimacy ranks one of the highest reasons as to why people divorce. And there's countries out there where it's just in Europe where the divorce rate is significantly higher than the United States. So we're doing something right. Like, she only narrowed in on the teen pregnancy rate. But once again,
are we doing something right because of sex, or are we doing something right because it's cheaper to keep her?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. It's just people making decisions.
Like, once again, correlation does not equal causation.
Well, yeah, Europe has the same sort of divorce family court structure like America does too, though.
But if you still look at the basic American structure is you don't have sex until you're married.
Mm-hmm.
Who the fuck really does that? So that's already out the window. That's an old way of thinking. You know what I mean? Now it's I got to get out here and get some experimental things under my belt before I can know if this is what I really want. You know, so that whole thing is just different. It's just different. And you can't look at a divorce rate because, like Shuba just said, it's just cheaper to keep her. Some people just don't get a divorce because they don't want a divorce. Some people would rather live together and not be together. We have situations like that with Will and Jada. I'll ride out. I love her. But my sexual appetite is for other people. This is just how people choose to live their life, all right? We're not going to come up with one some dumb fun for everybody because it doesn't work like that. There is no cookie cutter approach to folks. It's just about what people like, what they're willing to tolerate, what they're willing not to tolerate, and if they're really willing to, as you say, proudly, sit there and just hold it and just live like that, like, fuck it, I'm just going to be a little bit miserable with this part. And that's just how I'm live.
Yeah. It's just interesting because I think sometimes people don't know their sexuality until much later in life. Some people don't realize their kinks and fetishes till much later in life. That I don't know, like maybe to Kelvin's point, maybe you do have a prerequisite college course for, you know, you have a more watered down approach in high school and a more advanced course in college to introduce these various, you know, ways of sex and having intimacy. All right, well, next question. Is there freedom in marriage? Who question is that? Trying to get brothers in trouble.
Of Kel's question.
Yeah, I'm about to say, that looked like that was mine.
I'm like, God damn, you try to get the three married brothers in trouble. I was like, who question is that?
Yeah, I think that I say yes, it just looks different. But there's definitely freedom. It's just that.
Describe it.
I got a question for you. Yeah, I'm sorry, Shuba. I have a question. What you're saying, freedom? What is that? Yeah, I need description.
So,
what does freedom look like?
So the original question was,
is there freedom in marriage?
Okay, in the sense of, in what ways does marriage make you more free, and what ways does it make you less free?
Okay, that was your question. In what ways?
Yeah, that was his question. I tried to condense it.
It's okay. No, it's good.
So please explain what you mean by freedom within marriage.
Well, So I go first. I mean, in what ways does it? And you know what? To be honest, I took this question directly from Homegirl. She mentioned it in one of the chapters. So I think she asked like one of her clients.
Patients?
Okay. Yeah, patients. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I would say it makes you more free in the sense of like, you do have that stability. You do know where your life is, or you have an idea what path your life is going in. As far as like having a plan, you do feel more security when you know that there's somebody that's backing you up. I just think the only way that it makes you less free in the sense of a lot of the decisions you make, even if it's like, okay, I'm going to go out and do my own thing or hang out or whatever, you're still doing that under the realm of, I got to respect, you know, my relationship, and I can't just do whatever it is that I want when I'm out, even if it's not, you know, necessarily cheating or whatever, but it's like, okay, cool. If I'm out for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, I got to at least check in. Or if I see her calling, you know, I'm going to pick up, as long as it's not something where it's like you calling me over and over. My bad, my mama dog barking, so I'm gonna stop there.
Sounds like Shu might want to, or Smith has something to say regarding what freedom looks like in a marriage. Smith, you there? Smith,
yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you were muted.
I was muted. Yeah, I had to run for a second, man. Is there freedom in marriage? No.
You about to get a cosign on that, bro, but go ahead.
There's no freedom in marriage. you would want to be free in marriage. You would hope that you could be free, but I don't think there's freedom in marriage. I think that you have to get to that point. I agree a lot with what you were saying, Henry, but I just don't think that there's freedom within marriage. We're a unit at this time. Am I free to be who I want to be? Am I free to really be open and honest with you at all times? Do we have that relationship in our marriage? Or are certain things that you ask me, do I still have to do little white lies? I mean, I guess you can be free in marriage if you and the person are truly, truly 1,000% honest with one another.
Why can't you be though?
No, I'm saying I think that's the only way that might can work. Why can't you be? Because a lot of people still don't want to hurt the loved one's feelings, Henry. That's why.
Correct.
Because there's certain things that you just still want to keep it politically correct, so to speak, even with your wife.
Correct.
Yeah.
Like, do I want to tell my wife, like, and again, it's my situation with my wife. You got to remember, everybody's situation is different. It's not a cookie cutter. But do I want to tell my wife that her pussy's whack? Hey, yo, girl, your pussy whack, yo. I don't know what the hell you need to do, but, since we've been married, shit just whack. Like, do I want to have that conversation like that? I mean, how do I?
No, not like that, bro. And I mean, if you come in with the,
do I have the freedom do I have the freedom to be honest with my wife and say, look, I need
and
to
express this and express the way you want to express it?
Yes. Do I have that
yeah.
freedom? I don't think
Does he have that freedom?
I don't think you do.
He doesn't. Sorry to jump in on that with you.
No,
I agree.
Fine. To express myself freely. That's what I was trying to say, probably.
No, you're absolutely right.
I don't think I have that.
I was delusional for the first several years of my marriage. And look, I still have a great marriage. But I've come to the realization that I do not have the ability to be free the way I want to. And, and when you think about the word freedom, you're talking about the liberty to do what you want without any opposition, and without much restraint. And to that point about even expressing your own self and who you are as a person, no, you don't have that freedom. You, like, for me, I know I gotta sugarcoat and coach the way, like, if I gotta address a certain particular matter with my wife, and it doesn't even have to be sexual, any topic, I gotta find a way to present it in such a way where she's not hurt and she's receptive to that information. And that's not, and I'm a very straightforward, blunt person. I could receive criticism well, and I could dish out criticism without me being fazed. That's not my wife. So
then only the wife gets the freedom then. Because if you can't express it the way that you want and you got to express it her way, then isn't she getting the freedom that she wants?
But that's what I'm saying. That's where the man, like, you don't have freedom. And there could be other things in which she might feel that she doesn't have the freedom to do that, obviously she's not on this podcast, I'm pretty sure there might be things that she might say, well, I don't have the freedom to do X, Y, and Z, because I might react negatively to it. So
the freedom is just doing exactly what you want, exactly how you want to do it.
Correct. That's what freedom is.
That's what freedom is.
So even if you can do something that you want to do, but you can't. So like if you want to go out, but then it's like, okay, well, can you call me? That's not freedom.
Can I ask a question?
That's a compromise.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Shu.
That's a compromise.
What is the purpose of marriage?
Marriage is a business transaction. It's ultimately what historically has always been seen as a business transaction. America has romanticized marriage in such a way where it's all lovey-dovey. But if you look at historically, marriage is two people coming together for whatever materialistic aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
Facts. That being said, when you go into a contract, contracts are binding. All right. And that's what marriage contract is. You will not, even if she on her period, she don't feel like it, she got a headache, and you getting blue balls, you can't go out and mess around. Even if you made all of the money you can't spend it however you choose to. You know what I mean? Even if you go out with your homeboys, you know what I mean? You got to check in, as you said. Like anytime when something comes with so many rules and regulations, that's not freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So then what can we,
now it is, hold on. It is voluntary captivity because you're trading one thing out for another. You're saying, you know what? I'll give up. So for instance, people feel some sort of way about going to the airport and having a junk, x-rayed where somebody's seeing them naked on some, camera at the airport, but they're trading at that privacy or that freedom out for the security of knowing nobody's getting on the plane with a bomb.
Mm-hmm.
So is it freedom? No, it's not freedom. It is a trade-off that you get for some other benefit. Because we all have been in a relationship. We had to do something or not be able to do something we wanted to do because we're in a relationship.
So, I
need an applaud button for that one.
But hey, that was good. That was
a good one. I need an applaud button.
So, I do like that. But with that thought process, then that means, are we true? So then we're just not free as people then, because it's the same thing. You're not free at work. You're not free in friendships. Even if you're a business owner, you're still not free. You're still not free because you don't have. If you're talking about from a financial standpoint, you don't have the freedom to treat all of your customers the way that you want to, and still have business. But then you won't have business, so you can't just. You can't. So you can treat all your customers like shit, not show up, keep the gym locked, show up late, and then you're still gonna get the same customers.
He has the freedom to make that choice, though. But he has the freedom to make that
exactly.
choice.
I have the freedom to make that decision.
It's not exactly.
Hold on, wait.
Here's the thing.
That's different.
In that example, if that was the case, Donald Trump would not be a fucking billionaire. Because that dude is a dick all day, every day.
But he came into money.
He's the president of the United States.
Yeah, but Donald Trump is not. Schubert, I got it. But Donald Trump is not treating his guests that go to his hotels. They're not paying for the room, and then when they show up, it's like, oh, well, I know you paid for the suite, but you're getting some bullshit instead. You're still getting what you pay for. And just like you say, oh, well, yes, I can. Okay, I can treat my wife how I want to, and then we won't be together. Just like you could treat your customers exactly how you want. You could treat your boss at your job however you want, but you don't have the freedom to do that if you wanted to work. So we're not free in any aspect then, if that's the case.
Here's the thing.
No, I think you're switching
the business.
What are we free to do then, Smith? There's no difference.
Here's the thing. You're comparing a business to a relationship between two.
No, we just said that marriage is a business, so it's the same thing.
But he could run his business.
Marriage is a contract.
Yeah,
marriage is a contract. All right, it's a business arrangement between those two people. Now, you already know what the stipulations are when you're going into that marriage. That's why it's already written out there. Forbid all this, that, blah, 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 yeah. Now, that being said, how many husbands have I don't know any husband that has been called an asshole, a jerk by his wife at some point in time.
Schubert, it doesn't say in a marriage that that the husband has to take care of the household and split their money. It doesn't say that in marriage. It doesn't say that you can't make decisions with your money regardless of how much you make. Your wife still makes decisions. It doesn't say that in marriage. It doesn't say that y'all have to join finances. It doesn't say that you can't go out and still go to the club. None of that. It doesn't say anything.
Henry, it says that you're a union.
Agreed.
Matrimony.
And you have the freedom to decide what that looks like. There is no law book that says that you have to do X, Y, and Z. So the rules that's in place there is the same rules that's in place in society or in your job.
So you're saying I have the freedom and I won't be married.
Okay,
what do you mean?
That's what you're saying, Henry. You're saying
let's keep it strictly about
let's keep
it strictly about marriage. All right,
okay.
Let's keep it strictly about marriage. The whole thing is with marriage, can you do the same thing you can do when you're single?
It depends on the relationship that you have. Just
really?
Like Schubert. So then,
okay,
if that's the case, then all three of our marriages would be run the same way. We'd be following the same exact rules.
Well,
which isn't the case.
Well, let me say this, because I think there's levels to it. Because Henry, you asked me this before. You said, "Yo, how do you be staying out like this? Your wife never say anything?" And I said, "Because I'm free to do what I want to do." That was a different relationship, though.
That's what I'm saying.
And guess what? I'm divorced.
But
because I'm free to do what the fuck I want to do. You understand how this works?
So
Bruh, you don't have freedom. It looks like you got freedom, but when you're free to do what you want to do, you end up in divorce, man.
When you're free, exactly. When you're free to do what you want to do, and you're free to say what you want to say. That's important too, though, Cal. I think a lot of times, man, like you got to realize you can't tell your wife what's on your mind freely. Let's keep it a buck.
But that's what I'm saying. You can't do that in any type of relationship.
No, but it's different though.
Yes, you can.
Schubert has the freedom. Hold on, but Schubert has the freedom to run his business the way he wants, and
say what he wants to say to his clients.
Exactly. Yes. And the clients had the understanding when they signed that contract that Schubert is this personality, and I am going to encounter this sort of training with Schubert. In a marriage, we like to have, but what I'm saying is, hold on, pause though, because we just finished reading The Myth of Male Power. We like to play around with this idea that, when we enter this marriage, we can structure marriages however we want. Dude, Esther just told a story about, and Smith just talked about it. The couple that did all this dominatrix shit, they had their third child, and then they hit a roadblock. Dude, you hit roadblocks in relationship, and then you don't know how to necessarily approach that situation, so you don't necessarily say what's on your mind. That's not freedom.
Yeah, I don't know. If you choose not to,
and to be honest,
so if you choose not to say,
I know you have anecdotal stories, Cal. Just mean you personally, and I would not put this out here, but you have to have. I guarantee you, when the situations that you've encountered with your wife, where you just like, you know what, I want to say this to, my wife this way. But you know that you can't say it this way because you're not going to be receptive of it this way.
Yeah.
But I still have the freedom to say it though if I want. It's about getting it.
But you approach it, but you do not address it the way you truly want to address it.
Because
that's
can you say it the way you want with impunity?
Hey, thank you.
That is the bottom line. Sure, you could say it, but will there be a repercussion?
If it comes off as a disrespectful way, yes.
So you are not free.
You're not free because you're thinking about the repercussion.
You're thinking about exactly.
As long as there's a stipulation to your behavior, you can behave however you want, but here's the stipulations to it. You are not free.
So then, okay, you're right. So Schubert, for the sake of sticking to marriage, you're right. But then that means we're not free. Period. We're not free at our job, whether you have a business or not. Because here's what I'm saying.
You are free.
Right, you're not though, because even if Schubert is an owner, okay, I get that the trainer's gonna yell and scream at me, but the trainer's not gonna tell me, and I'm still gonna keep coming. I know I said class starts at 7, but fuck off. I know I was late, man. Fuck y'all. I'm gonna be late if I want to be late. Like, you can't talk to me any way that you want and still think that you still gonna have my business. Just like I'm not going to a restaurant.
Maybe not your business, but he will have somebody else's business. Some people like that.
Some people like that, bro.
Okay, but then
some people like that.
Okay, and you also have
each his own. You still want this cookie cutter for everything.
But then Smith, if you're gonna say that, then you can also
no one rule, Henry. There's no
got
rule.
it. You're right. So you can say the same thing with marriage, because you still got some dudes who beat their wife and do what they want, and they still stay together.
That's not true all the time.
No. And you're right. Not all the time.
And that means she's not free. That means she's not free.
That means the woman is not free.
Look, if that's what she wants,
somebody's not
free.
Somebody's not free.
Okay, so so then somebody can have the freedom. Like Cash, if you're saying, "Oh, I have to curb the way that I talk to my wife," then she's the one who gets the freedom.
I acknowledge that. She has
unless you're Donald Trump and Melania.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying the idea of freedom is one of those things of, when you think about the ideas of freedom, I put it in the same bucket as the idea of happiness. It's not obtainable. It is what it is. It's not obtainable. Like true happiness doesn't exist. True freedom doesn't exist.
Yeah, you can be happy for a moment.
You can be happy for a moment. However that moment is up to you. But true happiness doesn't exist. True freedom doesn't exist. A lot of us are just content with the lives that we have, and we manage the lives that we have.
But yeah, you always gonna want it to be better.
But you don't have true free. You don't have freedom, bro. You just You don't.
You don't have freedom.
You
I
don't.
don't know.
It's the way
is.
you have to, like, you do not have the free range to express the way you yourself. You just don't.
Yes.
Well, if I got accepted in that, okay, I'll accept it in that standpoint.
I don't think any of us are truly free the way we think we're free in all facets.
And I agree with that.
And I
totally agree with that. But
Yeah,
we're specifically saying marriage.
But
we're talking
about marriage, and I don't think sticking on the topic of marriage, we're not free.
No,
it doesn't
on the
exist.
topic of marriage, Henry, because yes, we all got to pay taxes and do shit we don't want to do. So we ain't free if you just want to talk about some old global shit. But we were talking about marriage, and we were talking about free and goddamn marriage. You try to say, well, you're not free in work. You're not free in the bank. Nah, bro, we're not talking about
you go to the bank. You go to the bank when you want.
Marriage.
You go to the bank when you want.
Yeah.
You know what? I concede. I'll agree because we've agreed that we ain't free in no aspect of life. So how can you be free in marriage?
Look, man. No.
Like, yo, that makes sense.
Here's the difference.
Nah, bro, it's the same.
Right? Here's the reality. There are certain freedoms we don't have any control over society, over the land, the laws, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. But you add on to your captivity when you go into a job and you say, I will put on this uniform, I will do this suit, I will be here between these hours. You add to your captivity when you say to a woman, I do, I will, I can, I shall, because till death do me part. So the whole thing is, you're not adding to your freedom. You're not removing from you. You're not removing from your captivity. You're adding to your captivity. You're removing from your freedoms when you go into any type of
relationship with somebody,
binding agreement with someone, whether it be within a work premise or within a marriage premise or within any other type of contract.
You do that with a
legally
friendship too.
Binding keyword.
You do that with relationships too, though. Any type of relationship. Anytime that you got other people involved,
We're specifically talking about marriage.
That is not. You don't.
Well,
you keep going.
You just said put on a uniform. That ain't got nothing to do with marriage.
No, I don't do it in every relationship. I don't. You and I don't do that, Henry.
Yeah, Smith. We
do not sugarcoat, bro. We tell each other how it is. Like, ain't no.
And we doing it right now.
Yeah, but
this is probably the closest.
Ain't no secret. So it ain't every relationship
will ever have.
There is no cookie cutter. It doesn't work in every relationship because we keep it 100. Like, that's just how we roll. So it's different.
Shit, nah. We don't have the freedom to say whatever we want because shit. I'm pretty sure there's some things we could say about our marriages right now and our relationships that can get us in trouble.
Yeah, that's
like, yo, yesterday I had to edit a part last week. Like, oh man, I can't have my wife hear that.
Oh man.
See, that man ain't free.
Hey, wait a minute. You ain't telling us you be going out and taking out your parts and leave not parts.
No. Full disclosure, I leave all of it on. There was just that one piece, brother. I was like, nah, that can't go.
No.
That's why he ain't sent his last week's version.
I can't let my wife know about Cheryl.
That's it. Fellas, I got 6 minutes left, man. I got to do some work.
All right. Let's see if we can get to these next two questions. All right, chapter 4 points out that sexuality often opposes daily cultural norms. Why do most of us use sex as a relief from the real world and no show for our other side?
Oh, we don't show our other side.
And don't show our other side. Okay. So why do most of us use sex as a relief from the real world and don't show our other side?
I know she mentioned somewhere, like this one lady was saying that, that's the one, like sex is the one part where you don't have to really worry about anything. You can just let loose and be free, and there's no type of like repercussions for the way that you act. I mean, I'm assuming that this is, maybe you having like single sex because, I don't want to say out of the marriage sex because there really isn't, you having a one night stand or a fling with somebody, there really aren't any types of rules, that the first couple times. So I just think there's like no excuses really. Or you don't have to really like give an excuse as to like, yo, I was acting this way because that's how I want to act. Like, so you might have somebody who like being slapped on their ass or slapped in the face. You're not questioning that with sex, but you question it if they was like, yo, when I'm walking down the street, I want you to slap my ass. And when you come home from work, I want you to slap me in the face. Like that would raise some questions. So you just don't have to really explain yourself in that situation.
I think it simply goes back to the fact of in our society, sex is taboo. So you got to kind of keep it all under wraps, you know. So when out in public, you know, like Hakeem said, you know, lady in the street freaking in bed, you know, like keep it under wraps. So I think that just extends into that. And secondly, I think psychologically is the fact of you are the most time. The time you are most exposed and vulnerable is when you're butt ass naked. There it is. There you are. No six pack, no bulging muscles, no perfect breasts, no perfect, you know, supermodel body. So you are the most vulnerable you could possibly be. And here's
No
this person
skanks.
accepting you in your most vulnerable state. And you might feel comfortable to go buck wild, suck some toes, or smack an ass, or whatever it is you're into, this, that, and the other. So I think that's part of the reason why you get more of that openness, or you see that other side of someone during sex.
Yeah, you let your inhibitions down, and you start to become a scientist. You become a little more experimental, and you just want to try things. You know, that's just what it is. Like you said, when you're butt ass naked, it changes. You know, we're seeing each other in our raw flesh. You know, take the Spanx out. I'm seeing the folds. I'm seeing the creases. I'm seeing the rolls. I'm seeing whatever. And
yeah, girl.
But you know what's interesting though? There was a couple of clients that she pointed out, and it was, I think that even in the first chapter of this book, where this one dude was saying like he was sexually deprived, and his wife was just like, well, you know, I'm not into it. So for some people, I don't know if sex is a relief. Some people, once they get married, particularly some women, once they get married, they're content with being preoccupied with being mothers and doing other things. So I don't know how much sex is a relief for most people.
Well, it did say that some of them lose the desire, though. Bradley.
Yeah.
It said they lose the desire. You know, I want to have sex, but then I look and I'm looking at these toys that's strewn across the floor, and I'm looking at these clothes that I got to fold, and the desire actually starts leaving me. But with most sex, you know, with sex, generally we're opening up our wallets first, as she said. We open up our wallets, then we open up our minds. So most times, you know, we're looking at sex as we paid for the sex in a sense. Before we start really enjoying the sex of it, but before we start really being the passionate part, we just want to get what we paid for, in a sense.
Yeah. All right. Next up, last question, so we could get Henry's opinion on this.
All right.
Chapter 5 is about.
Sex is dirty.
Chapter 5 is about the complex balance of spontaneity, regularity, passion, and stability, freedom, and sexual insecurity. Is it possible to obtain such balance in a long-term relationship naturally without intentional planned effort?
Now, here's my thing about this question, right?
So
that's a big capitalized and the fuck no.
I will read that back to myself.
So here's the thing, right? But you know, the thing is, like, they keep talking about this, and so many sex therapists, psychologists, this, that, and the other. So they started off in this chapter talking about how if you were having sex less than 10 times a year,
you're not in a sexless marriage.
Then you're not in a sexless marriage. It's like, what? You know,
less than one.
They said if you get 11 times, you good.
They said, but if you get 11 times, you doing it.
You doing it big if you got 11 or 12.
I thought about Henry when I was reading that.
I was thinking about him too.
I went right to Henry when I was reading that. I was like, yo.
That's what I was thinking too.
Okay.
But anyway, the whole thing is, she's saying how, you know, you need to balance these two parts, you know, like breathing in and breathing out. And, you know, unlike breathing where you could do that without thinking, you know, you can do it thinking, you could do it without thinking naturally. With this balance, can you achieve that in a long-term relationship without saying, oh yeah, it's Thursday night, we gotta have, you know, date night. Oh, it's this is her favorite color. Oh, he likes this, but I'm not into it, but he likes it when I, you know, give him fellatio or XYZ. Like, can it naturally happen in a long-term relationship, or is it something that we have to something that we actually have to put effort into? And when she said when we put effort into it, it becomes robotic and becomes that regularity that we get turned off by.
Yeah.
It's
to the point like when Smith said last week when he told us to read it for those of us who didn't read the introduction. I went back and read the introduction, and it is fascinating. And Smith, I don't want to repeat all of his talking points from last week, but marriage, like we're living longer, much longer, and the idea now that we're in marriages for this long-term haul is, the things that we have to do to sustain the desire, the passion, everything that goes involved in maintaining a marriage. I don't know. Naturally, you can't do all of it. There's just a lot of effort. Now, it becomes monotonous and mundane and robotic, and then it comes down to how much of that you're willing to tolerate.
Yeah, I think
she was talking about how we do the work save plan, right?
Yeah.
We work save plan to get to the individual freedoms of the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But she said the desires never stop coming, and in our American society, they're constantly telling us what we want. We don't necessarily always know what we want. We might think we do, but the society, the images that they're putting out. So when we're thinking about sex, they're showing us young beauty, young sexy things, young things. And we keep looking at these sexual images of youth and beauty. And then we say, as we're with this partner, am I going to do this 50 years? Because in 50 years, this partner won't be this sexually youth and beauty that I'm seeing on the image. And can I sustain the desire? Like you said, 70, 80, 90 years, that is a long time to be with one person. That's a lifetime. I'm literally going to be with you for the rest of my lifetime. And that's a long time, And some people think initially that they are built to do the long haul, as you said. And then some people find out that it's not. And it doesn't make them bad people. It doesn't not allow them to be friends anymore. It just depends on how strong and independent these two individuals are and how thoughtful they are and still wanting to be engaged and involved, especially if there's a kid involved, still wanting to be engaged and involved in each other's life, but knowing that there would never be another episode of compassion or another sexual activity between the two people.
That deserves an applaud button, man. That's, yeah. Go ahead, Henry.
Well, just like thinking about the whole idea of sex and how it fades or whatever, like, I don't know, I think it's one of them things clearly at the beginning of your relationship when y'all first get together, even before y'all married, it's not really something that y'all necessarily have to work on. But then like we work on other aspects of the relationship. Okay, what's it gonna be when we get married? What are your values on kids? What are your values on that? Like sex is the one thing that we have to work on. But then as time goes on, it is. But that's also like, okay, I've already worked on having an understanding of how what type of mom my wife is going to be, or like what the religion is going to be. Like we've ironed all of that part out. So like, why does it become this big issue now that we have to work on the sexual part? Okay, cool. We've ironed out all this other stuff. And I mean, I get that it's like maybe the difference is because it's something that's just so big, but like, if we have to work on other aspects of our relationship and get to know each other from other aspects of the relationship, why is it just like, oh, well, I know that it used to be this way. It's not that way anymore, but now it's a problem to work on it. I don't really look at that as any other problem or build it, especially if you've never had a conversation about it. It's just like, this is the way that it's been.
But could you work on passion and spontaneity? Is that something because I think I think
spontaneity, yes. I mean, passion.
You can work on spontaneity.
No.
I don't think you can work on passion.
No, but then like that's what makes it feel like, again, okay, that passion is lost. It's like it's not going to be the same with sex. So that's why something else has to not take the place, but begin to fill that void. Like I said before, like, okay, our sex life may never get back to 100. Maybe it's going to stay at an 80. Maybe it's slowly going to decrease and one day make it to 0. But something else has to fill that passion. Okay, cool. We're not getting in like how we used to. Even if it's just as important it might be more important to her than it is to me.
But to just cuddle?
So something else has to take that place. You know what I mean? Like, okay, cool.
Motherfucker said just cuddle.
Yeah, it's a fact. Let's try to be passionate about something else. Like, to help take the place of that. So, like, I mean, not to say that, like, the sex has been an issue, because it hasn't, but just the whole idea of, okay, cool, we say that we working to be debt free. Like, yo, that was something that we became passionate, something that we weren't passionate about before. Mm-hmm. Now we're passionate about it now. So maybe it'll be to talk about getting a dog. Maybe that could be something passionate. Talk about making a kid. That's something else you could be passionate towards. Yeah. And who knows what else you can build, moving forward. So,
well, you got to build a lot once you have a kid. You just have to build a lot once you have a kid.
So your passions change.
I think spontaneity and freedom don't run side by side. I just don't think how you could be spontaneous, because usually when I think about my days as being spontaneous and other people who I know are spontaneous, they're not responsible in other aspects of their life.
But you could be, spontaneous, like, yo, and even if the sex isn't involved, of course we're gonna.
I'm not talking about just sex. I'm just talking about, like, because
I know we normally, spend the weekend doing this. Oh, let's take a trip and go so-and-so. Or I know that we don't normally eat so-and-so. Let's do this over here instead.
But the thing is, I'm hinting at is, the more you seek stability in your relationship, the more I think constrained that spontaneity becomes.
Yeah, I think spontaneity, when you talk about like passion, it involves your partner, bro, not separate.
Correct. And I'm just saying that a lot of times, like, I know for me, a lot of times when I feel spontaneous, I'd be like, damn, I can't do that because I want to pay this, or I want to acquire this property, or I want to do this. So my spontaneity doesn't necessarily see its full gamut, because I'm trying to think responsibly and be more stable in my relationship. So
that's no different than I see you trying to jump in, because I know I'm doing a lot of talking, so I'll stop after this.
Go ahead.
For me, I don't really feel like that's any different from, like, okay, well, I want to have sex, but she'd rather do something else. Where it's like, yo, you'd rather save money for the house, but she'd rather take a spontaneous trip. Like, it's the same trade-off.
But that's what I'm saying. They don't run side by side. So it's just like a lot of those things take a hit to Schubert's question when you talk about, keeping relationship naturally for a long-term haul. Spontaneity and passion takes a hit. I don't think you could work on those things, because the problem is, and the running thing I'm seeing in this relationship is your freedom. You're sacrificing your spontaneity. You're sacrificing your desires for stability and comfort. And
so you work towards the spontaneity. Okay, cool.
That's not something you could work towards.
You can't. Unless, like, if you're saying, okay, I'm gonna save for this house. All right, cool. Now so I'm saving for this house so that we can be spontaneous at some point.
Hey, Henry, I want to say that. My bad, Shu. Let me say
my bad, Shu. Go ahead, I'm done.
Because two things that you are missing with that spontaneity. You said before, Henry, that you expected your wife to do certain things, right? So your spontaneity would be that you have to switch up those things that you are requesting your wife to do, that you said these are kind of like wifely duties, so to speak. Mr. Henry can also do certain things. You can also do certain things to be more spontaneous as far as helping her out with the things that you say she should be doing on her own. As you said, if I go to work all day, then I expect certain things when I get home. All right. But why can't you flip that and go to work all day and get home and still help out with her? You know what I mean? So it's like probably talk about a long haul. We're not talking about a 4-year, a 5-year, 7-year. We're talking about 20 years, 25, 30 years, 35. Like that's some time. And
that's time, bro.
Spontaneity. She gets tired of me putting her robe in the dryer when she gets out and it's nice and warm. She don't like me folding her clothes anymore because she said I do it wrong, even though I fold her clothes and I put a little note in her pocket. All that shit started going out the window, bro. Like, it just does.
Go ahead, Black.
So here's the thing. There's 3 different things that I'm hearing that I kind of want to touch on. So real quick, I'll use some anecdotal experiences. So there was a time where, I'm not going to say the young lady's name that I was dating. We were at a adult film store, and we were looking at, picking up a couple videos, this, that, and the other, back when they still had DVDs or.
I said that. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a while back. So anyway, the whole thing was like, while we're in the aisle, I was looking at one of the top shelf. She was looking at a lower shelf, and long story short, fellatio in the store. That back then, that was it was spontaneous and this, that, and the other. Now I'm like, I would think, you trying to get me locked up. What if they call the cops? You know what I mean? Your mindset is completely different as you get older into, you know, relationships and so forth and so on. Another way of spontaneousness. It's like how Kel, yesterday you said, yo, we gonna throw some things on the grill, you know, why don't you swing by? And I was like, I can't. I gotta, you know, check in with the wife because we're supposed to go run these errands and I gotta take my son to football. As you get older and you get into these relationships, especially long-term relationships, you know, you can't just drop things at a drop of a dime and be spontaneous, like we're gonna go out to dinner, we're gonna go out to a show or this, that, and the other. But there was a time when me and my wife were like, we're sitting in the house doing nothing. Oh, we're gonna drive from New Jersey to Philadelphia to get Philly cheesesteaks. Then we drove to Brooklyn to go get cheesecake from Junior's, and then drove back to New Jersey to this coffee shop that she liked, you know, that she was up here in Montclair. You can't do that type of stuff when you get older, and not necessarily older, but when you get into your relationship and it gets a lot more long-term and serious. And thirdly, going back,
you gotta bring a kid with you.
Yeah, because that's nothing says romantic like bringing your kids with you. You know. Oh man,
I'll watch
you got a lot to learn, bro.
I'll watch it, bro.
Let me finish this before you hit me with the, you know, wrap it up. What Hakeem was saying was on point. You know, the first time you make a breakfast in bed and the flour and this, that, and the other, it's wow, oh, it's amazing. But by the time you've done it 10 times, it doesn't have the same, it don't hit the same, as Bradley would say. You know what I mean? So the whole thing is that in this long term, and when I say long term, I'm talking double digits, okay? I'm not talking that first 4 or 5 years, as they call the honeymoon stage. I'm talking long term double digits, and you know, and I'm not talking like, oh, we known each other, we were dating since high school. I mean, when y'all sharing bills together, y'all, you know, sharing a home together, y'all sharing a future together. That part, when you get to that part right there, and you're talking long term, it's not that easy to make it naturally flow into this spontaneous and free-flowing thing and full of passion, but yet still responsible. You know, you're full of freedom, but yet you're still secure in everything. It's a tricky thing to do, and I just don't know if it's actually possible.
No, I agree. After a certain amount of time, like, it just is what it is. Like, I mean, when you're talking 20, 30 years, like, yeah, I mean, it is.
There's no other things you could do in your relationship to make up for that lackluster.
You can. I just think this
far. Yeah,
but it's far and few in between.
Class, and now you want to do nude drawings of her. Like, that's spontaneous. You gotta like, yo,
it's far and few in between.
Your mind gotta go so far to keep that going for 30 and 40 years.
Yeah.
Your mind got to keep expanding and keep it going for that amount of time.
Bruh, I did everything in my relationship, from taking hot air ballooning to take her to like various countries, that, yo, you hit a certain point where you just like, you hit a wall in regards to what you got
to sign up for that one-way Mars trip, bruh.
That's the one-way Mars trip.
That'll take the cake.
And when I think of spontaneity, I'm thinking about doing things like Schubert was running down in his story, just non-planned. Like, you just, you know what? Hey, let's do this.
But you know what, Cash? I mean, if you think about Schubert's theory, you can. You don't have a kid.
I know I can't. Not necessarily, though.
But you did not listen to his spontaneity.
As far as the money,
he's trying to do the stability part.
Yeah, but there's the stability part to it, though, because my spontaneity involves some lavish shit. Yeah. I can't do the lavish shit if I'm trying to save up for something else with her.
No, but that's what you become passionate about, though.
But dude, that's not a passion. Like, I'm saying, but the thing is, hold up. To talk about me anecdotally, me saving up to buy real estate property, that's security. That's not a passion. That's security. I'm trying to secure my future. Mm-hmm. That's not a passion. I'm not passionate about it. That's just me trying to make sure that I'm not fucking sleeping on the street when I'm fucking 40, 50 years old.
Well, no, I mean,
that's all it is, bro. That doesn't. When I talk real estate, it's not like my dopamine levels go off the Richter scale and I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to get a hard on. No, it doesn't do that for me.
Well, and trust me, that getting wet when you talk.
I thought it did.
Talking
But I'm about to say that makes one of us, because my dick is hard as hell when I think about real estate. Well, you gotta find a passion, bro. Like that's what I'm saying.
But my passion, what I will find interesting, would basically derail what I will have to do with my wife. My
so
passion
there's nothing
doesn't.
that y'all two could find together where it's like, damn, you know what? We really like doing this together.
Dude, we like it, but that's not my passion. It's not my individual passion. That's two different things. Like, I know that's the right thing to do, and we're on this journey together, but it doesn't really, I don't necessarily get up every day and just like at amazing and at awe about looking at real estate all day and thinking.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
But that's what I'm saying. Like passionately, it's just like I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do as an adult. That's all I'm doing. That's not me doing something passionately.
That makes sense.
90% of people do not do the job that they passionately would like to pursue.
I know. But
But then it's the same thing in relationships.
In chapter 6, the dude was originally he was looking to be an actor or something in the arts.
Exactly.
The whole thing was to get the stability with his wife. He gave that up and made his job or his side hustle as a paralegal into a real hardcore career.
Correct.
aka a real job.
A real job.
A real job.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just like, for me to do the stuff that I'm passionate about, bro, I will have to derail all aspects of what me and my wife have to do.
And you saying there's no way that you and your wife can find something that both of y'all are passionate about.
No,
like my wife, no romance with no finance.
Yeah, like the shit that my wife is into, I'm not passionate about. Like, we like doing things together. Like Chris Rock said in a bit, as long as you eat, do all the things that you're supposed to do, then you're fine. Right. But like in regards of what I'm passionate about, and I know what she's passionate about, we're not gonna necessarily fall in line with that sort of stuff together. So therefore, she could dabble in it. I could dabble in it, but we can't go full throttle in our passion because then we won't be aligned with each other. Like, come on, man. Like real estate, like you looking at real estate, that's just a form of security.
I just think like I've found things that I didn't think that I'd like a lot that I do. And I feel like I'll still find other things along the way. And to think that, hey, that me and my wife can't find something that we both are passionate about and will want to do together. I can't say that that's not gonna happen. I'm not saying
I'm not saying that it's not gonna happen where you guys can't find things you enjoy to do together, but are you passionate? There's two different things. You could enjoy doing something together, but are you passionate about doing it? That's two different things.
I'm passionate about these foster kids. Like, regardless of for more reasons than one. You know what I mean? We go hard on it, and I listen to the way that she talks about it. Now, am I passionate to the point where, like, I'm willing to give up certain things? Like, I have other aspects of my life be sacrificed? No, I'm not passionate to that.
Hey, you passionate for the moment, brother, because you're not trying to do that for the rest of your life.
I'll take it.
Yeah, for right now.
Brother.
I'll take it. I don't have to be passionate for it forever. I'll move on and find the next thing. I was passionate about that sneaker business for a minute. Not no more. Time to move on. I'm about to be passionate about something else.
But that's not nah, bro. When I think of people who are
he does. Yeah.
When I think about people, and Schubert probably could hit this up from a philosophical level. When I think about people who's passionate about something, like you being like the sneaker business was a hustle that you enjoyed doing because it was going to be something that was going to get you some financial freedom. But like people who I know who are passionate, like musician, artists, whatever, or in the medical field, they can do that to their very last breath.
Okay,
to say that.
That's
thing,
passion,
right?
bro. That's what passion is. When you can do something to the very last breath of you living. That's
I
passion.
completely agree with Pratt, because here's the thing. Like, me being in the fitness and health industry, it's what I do. It's what I've been doing. I can't see myself doing anything else to the day I die. Like, this is not going to be, this is not just a hustle for me. Anyone who's worked with me knows that I'm not just, I got to pay the bills, but it's not just about, the dollar bills. I treat everybody that comes in my door like family, and I let them know, like, yo, this is my house, respect it, or I will kick you out. That's why I have the freedom in my own business, Kel. But anyway, whole thing is that, when I think of passion, to use an artist as an example, if you ever saw the Ray movie about Ray Charles was, a drug addict, this, that, and the other. His wife, the only way she could get him to understand how the drugs were affecting him, it wasn't that, he would lose his kids, he would lose his wife. She had to hit him where it hurt. She said to him, Ray, if you don't get over this drug thing, they will take away your music. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess
they will take away your music, and that was how he got over the drugs, is because that was more important to him than anything else beyond his own wife.
See, that's the part
that is passion.
That's the part that I look at with passion, where this is the most important thing to me right now. I want to do this more than anything else.
But it's not just right now in the moment. It's for the rest of your very existence.
It doesn't have to be that long.
But that's what passion is, though.
So you have to be passionate. So you can only be passionate about one thing, and you have to be passionate about one thing forever.
The amount of things you're passionate about is not one thing, but you're saying it because you're labeling passion on short-term lived experience.
Okay, so if I'm passionate about paying off debt, now it's done. The passion still has to stay there?
That wasn't a passion.
But here's the thing.
No, that was passion. Like, that's the one thing. So hold on. The definition of passion: strong and barely controllable emotion. If I'm saying that I'm gonna sacrifice everything else so I can do this one thing until it's done, I'm not passionate about it.
It's not that. It's the fact.
No, that is passion.
Hold on. The whole thing is, let's be clear about the terms and the way we're using the terms.
Thank you. I was about to say that.
What we're talking about is having that fire in your belly to the day you die. Now, when we're talking about the passion that we're talking about right now, we're talking about long-term
relationship. That's not what we said it was.
Hold on.
No, but
let's be clear that we're all on the same page. Yeah. Let's be clear that we're all on the same page. When we're talking, the passion we're talking about right now is in a long-term relationship. That same fire you had in your belly when you first got with your girl and you couldn't wait the next time you see her and this, that, and the other. That's what these couples are having a hard time with. That they're like, I don't have that fire in my belly when I see this person.
And I base that.
And they want that. They want that. They want.
So what I'm saying is, you're saying,
how do you keep it? How do you maintain it?
And agreed. And I'm saying, instead of it be the passion of, we're passionate sexually, it stays at 100%.
No, you're not understanding.
So you're saying that
it's not sexually.
Exactly. So now you find somewhere else about each other. So you find another thing that fills that void, and you become passionate about that together. And y'all saying y'all can't. It's burning. You got to do it your whole life. If it's not for your whole life, then you can't get it. The whole life is we're passionate about. Okay, so explain to me what.
But your passion is materialistic. The thing is, for me philosophically, passion is more than something materialistically, in a sense of, all right, well, I'm going to just get out of debt and I'm just going to acquire these. That's materialistic.
It's not materialistic to get out of debt when that's the feeling that you get when you're out.
Understood, but what I'm saying is,
right,
like, you could
Let me ask you a question, Kel. Would the passion you feel getting out of debt be equal to the love you have for your wife?
If we're doing it together, yeah, because part of the reason why we're deciding
debt is equal to your wife.
Sure, but we're doing it together for each other. So like that's the reason why. If it was at the sacrifice of my wife, then no, I wouldn't be passionate about it. So if I had to sacrifice spending time and this is not something that she wants to do, I wouldn't be doing this. It's because this is something that we're doing together. We're both saying, I'm not going to use passion because I don't want anybody to feel it.
I think we're using two different terms of passion. I understand the passion that, Hakeem and Pratt are speaking of, but I don't think you are. You're using passion in a different context. Not that it's wrong, but it's not the context of what we're saying. We're talking about a long-term passion that drives two people to stay together, that makes them want to be around each other to the day that they fucking die.
So you can't
It doesn't
find.
have to be sexual. It could be
That's what I'm
just a
saying.
mental thing. It could be a relationship, but the whole thing is
You
the
can't
fact
find
of
it.
bills is not that thing. You know what I mean? Bills is not that thing. It's something that's a little bit more in depth and in your heart, in your soul, that it somehow it
So
drives you.
again,
You can't really, describe it with, material things. It's an abstract
but it
idea.
is. So if I say, okay, we're gonna get out of debt so that we can start saving for retirement, so that when we
That's
retire,
ambition.
hold on. So when we retire, we can live the life that we want to live together. That's not passion.
No, that's an ambition.
Your passion is this don't make no sense.
It does.
No, how does that make sense? You're saying it's
So
materialistic.
what you guys are doing in retirement together? What's the passion?
Whatever we want.
Because when I think of people who are passionate about stuff, they had that epiphany from a very early.
Got it.
It's not something you're having to find with another person.
So
it's not
the one
natural,
thing,
because the one thing that Schubert pointed out in his question was natural, and that's the one thing I want.
Got
because
it.
what you're trying to do is you're trying to find something. It's not naturally. You're trying to find something passionate alongside your wife to do what I know what I want to do passionately. It doesn't include my wife, and she's cool with that.
That's
she
what
knows that.
Like. That's the
and
difference.
she has stuff that she's passionate.
This
go
what
ahead,
he's saying,
Smith.
Henry. He's saying basically, if you ain't have to work, what would you do?
Oh, I know. That's the question I was going to answer.
That's the passion.
So we already said our ultimate goal to do together. I got you.
And you can't equate that to no wife. You can't equate a quiet.
That's not true. The one thing that we say that we wanted.
I wouldn't do that.
I think that's what the disconnect is. Because the one thing that we do say that we want to do together is travel. If we could go away, if we could get in a situation where it's like, and this is something that we already like doing, and are passionate about doing.
Because you all can travel now, you're choosing not to.
Because
you're not really passionate about that traveling thing because you can do it now.
But we can't do it like how we want.
It's a different thing.
We can't do it like
you're
how
not being spontaneous because now
we can't. We can't do it like how we want to, because we want to be able to go away for months, a year if we want, and still have the money coming in. Now, again, maybe it does come down to cash. You said it. The one thing that you're passionate about doesn't include your wife. And if y'all don't feel like y'all can find something, not just you, but just in general, you guys don't feel like you can find something that you can be passionate about with y'all significant others, then I mean, that's no knock on y'all. That's just how y'all feel about it.
The thing is, like, for me, I would say this. There are many things I could enjoy doing with my wife for the rest of my life. Am I passionate about it? No. But there's many things I can enjoy doing with my wife. No problem. And I think a lot of times it's just like, if you're having to work on that sort of passion to find some commonality with your wife, it's just like, it's cool and all, but it's just unrealistic. Me personally, that's how I look at it. And the way I define passion and the way I use it in context, as Schubert was describing earlier, passion is something that's innately in you. I
thought I wanted to sit back and chill and work, but I'd rather do this instead. Sometimes it's with your significant other. Sometimes you do it by yourself. To say, it's just not there. I can't say that until I actually try.
Right.
And then you're like, fuck it, I tried, it just ain't work.
Here's the thing. I think that, once again, we're still getting a conflict of terms. Sticking to the book, sticking to the main problem that these couples are complaining about is that they don't have the passion for one another, not the things that they do. They say they love each other, they love their kids, they're good fathers, they're good mothers, they're good husbands, they're good wives. All of those things are all in place. One wife said, I've got the car, I've got the house, I've got the money, we've got everything, we've got the perfect life. Why am I not, happy?
Because you're selfish.
And the reason, the hold on, don't cut me off. Hold on. Whole thing is that fire that she felt in her belly when she first met her husband is no longer there. And that is the passion that we're talking about. That is the passion that couples want to have long term. That excitement, that drive, that fire in their belly to be with one another, to see one another, to share every moment with one another, versus it just being, oh, hey, honey, I'm home from work. What's for dinner? Okay, yeah, we're going out with the stewards tonight. All right, 7 o'clock. Wear my blue tie.
So, Shub, are you saying that once that passion is gone, that you can't get it back?
I'm not saying you can't get it back. I'm saying that it's a hard thing to do.
Agreed.
Because the whole thing is because of the change of environment. So, for instance, right, one of the things I kind of struggle with is that I don't live in the hood anymore. Because I don't live in the hood, I feel like I've kind of lost a little bit of my edge.
Oh,
and
you
because
have.
of that, I feel like my son isn't going to develop that edge because he's not in that scenario. Now, I don't want to go and put him in that scenario for him to develop that edge. But same token, I understand how much of an advantage that edge has given me in life. You see what I'm saying? I can't go back to living in the hood. I mean, I could.
So you was passionate about the hood? Like, what passion have you lost?
You're not hearing what I'm saying. I didn't say passion. I said the edge that I got from being in the hood, from living that lifestyle, knowing what it is to be able to smell out a snake or a rat amongst me, being able to know, keep my guard up, being, able to, constantly be driven to go harder every day, that scenario, because of the environment has changed. I'm not in that same environment. I'm not exactly the same person. The same thing happens when we go into a relationship. We are not the same person we were when we first started. We lose that edge. We lose that passion, that drive. We change because the environment has changed.
So, okay, so you're right. So you're not passionate for each other, but you can still...
Not the same way. Not in the same way.
So can you be passionate for each other in a different way?
Maybe.
Like
that's what we're trying to figure out.
That's what I'm saying. So, I mean, I guess, maybe you can't be passionate about each other because you're right. Once, I don't know what other passion outside of like physical attraction there is where it's directly connected to I'm passionate about you.
But it goes
like there is nothing else.
It goes beyond physical.
Like for me,
so then like that's what I'm saying.
And you
heard of the concept of Bonnie and Clyde, right? So like the Bonnie and Clyde concept, right?
Yeah.
Bonnie and Clyde rode and died together, even though they knew that they were in a life that they could never escape. Even if you ever seen like the film of their movie, even when the FBI ran down on them and they heard that last moment of breath before the FBI dumped like 1,000 bullets in them. They held hands like, this is our moment. We gonna die together. It is what it is.
Are you?
I don't have a problem being homeless with you. I don't have a problem being rich with you, homeless with you, live with you, die with you.
That's
true.
That
type of drive and passion that we used to have, especially when we were young and teenage, doesn't seem to transition into long-term stable relationships.
Do you and your wife have that same passion about your son?
About our son, yes.
So it's a passion that both of y'all share. And did y'all have that same...
Understand it. Stop. The target is within the relationship. Once my son leaves the household, then what?
Then you find something else. That's what I'm saying. Then you find something else. And y'all saying
that is a distraction, bro. That is a distraction. You were being.
But the thing is, but to Kelvin's point, the passion you're short. And granted, yes, the definition is what the definition is. But I think from a philosophical level, I think the three of us are hitting Schubert and I and Smith and I are hitting on something different. You are fixated on short-term passion. And I think what Schubert questioned is natural, long-term passion. Can you
not goals?
Yeah, not goals. Passion. Goals. For me, I could find enjoyments with my wife. It doesn't necessarily have to be passion, and I'm good with that. What I'm passionate about and what she's passionate about, look, we're not gonna do together a lot of times, and that's fine. There's people who are like that, but the things that you're setting up, or the way the scenarios you're presenting, to me, I look at short-term goals, and I think the question is really, can you sustain long-term natural passion? And the answer is, in my opinion, no.
Yeah, I don't think you can sustain it about the same exact thing forever. No.
Okay.
But the
Okay.
thing is,
Unless-
when you pointed out Schubert and his wife, a lot of times when people put so much effort into their kids, they lose each other, and then once they lose each other, it's hard to freaking come back to finding out what each other are, affectionate about, like the affection that they have with one another. And Smith could talk about that too.
You
Like
said
a lot of
that
times,
right.
yeah. A lot of
You said
times
that
when you
right.
put that effort into your child, you lose each other. I've heard it countless of times. Shit, I've heard people who said that within months of just having their kid. It's just like, yo, they're like, that's not something you are passionate about raising this child, but you're not passionate about each other.
Mhm.
The passion is about each other for a long, natural duration.
Yeah, I get that. And that's why I'm saying, can it be replaced with something else? I just feel like it can.
It cannot.
You can find enjoyments. Like I said, I could find enjoyments with my wife doing other things, but like without passion.
I get what y'all saying. So the
Yeah.
passion isn't about each other anymore. But can you find another passion that both of y'all share that takes the place of that? Or does it have to be the passion is just gone, now it just can't be replaced? It's just gone.
Can it be different? Sure, it could be different.
It's going to be
Here's
different.
the thing. Here's the thing.
Oh yeah, of course it
A
can be the
light
same.
bulb can be replaced with a candle. But will the candle work the way the light bulb work? No, it will not.
If you
Like my passion.
Can you replace it with 1,000 candles? That one candle might not be, but maybe when you find a whole bunch of them, you put them together, you might get the same light.
Yeah, but look how many candles you need to get the same intensity from one light bulb. Think about that.
Well, I said if the passion's gone 100%, then yeah. I mean, that's tough. But if it's still there like 30, 40%, you're right. But I mean, shoot, that is something that's inevitable, and I agree. You do have to work harder as the time goes on, but do you just stop?
No
one's saying it's
That's what I'm
stop.
saying.
No
So
one is
then
saying that.
So
No
then it
one's
don't
saying
matter.
stop.
So then it don't matter how many different candles you're gonna need. I never even needed
The
a
bottom
candle.
line is, Kels, it's just that it won't be the same. Not that you shouldn't
No.
work on it. Not that it's impossible. It just cannot be the same. All
But
right.
can it still be shared? Like, can that passion be shared? Like, I don't know, and I'll say this and then I'll stop because we're going about this shit all day. But it just kind of sounded like
you. That's what I'm just.
it kind of sounded like
man.
it kind of sounded like a couple comments were made where it was like, yo, the things that I'm passionate about is just me. Me and my wife can't have anything that we're passionate about together. Whether it's us being passionate towards one another or us being passionate about the same thing. So like that's where my disconnect is. You're right. I might not have the same exact passion towards you and look at you and feel the same exact way, but we both might be able to find similar passions that kind of fill that void. But it kind of seems like the statement was made, no, she likes one thing and I like something different. So like we can't be passionate about the same thing. We can like the same thing, we just can't be passionate.
From a
And it
long-term
won't fill that void,
perspective,
though.
Listen.
Just,
Can you be
just keep in
passionate?
mind that
Can
it
you
won't
both
fill
be
the
passionate
void.
about?
The passion for something else will never fill that void of the passion for your wife.
So then it's just
and
gone.
the passion that she has for you. Nothing is going to replace that. Nothing is going to replace that.
Well, then
That's where the people who start going to Hey Henry, this is why they start going to marriage counselor. They try to find that spark again. This is what happens. All right.
So we all
it's just something that happens, you know.
It's not that we're doomed. It's just something that happens that we're aware of.
No, it's not. Yeah,
it's not doomed, dude. I just told you. Me and my wife find things that we can enjoy together. That we're not.
But y'all see 20, 30 years. Y'all ain't been along. I mean, once y'all get to that 30-year point, that might not work either. 20, 30 years. That's a long time. I mean, this is what y'all saying. After 20, 30 years, it might get to the point where it's like even those little things that we enjoy together, that don't work either. It's like that's what it sounded like. That's so
it could be.
That could be the case.
That could be the case.
Here's the thing. At the end of the day, what we're trying to come into the reality is that relationships are, made up as we go along. We don't know. We don't have any guarantees in them that we're going to be together 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We're making this shit up as we go along. And the whole thing is sometimes the fire may die out. We may grow apart, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a natural, thing to happen. But the whole thing is that we demonize anyone who can't maintain a relationship forever, as if anything can be maintained forever.
Look, if they can't do it, they can't do it. Fellas, I gotta go. I'll see y'all.
Oh, that's what y'all was talking about? Y'all passionate about that dog?